Welcome. This is a lecture on introductory paragraph for Essay 1. Now the video is going to go right here, but I want to show you what else you can find if you scroll down. You can find the PowerPoint I'll be looking at. You can find a worksheet which lists all the requirements from the PowerPoint, has space for your hook and your thesis, as well as a sample essay, another sample research essay, and then all the lecture material sort of abbreviated for you. There are different things to call the intro paragraph. If you missed our thesis lecture, be sure to revisit that, and some different videos about the parts. Okay, I also put some rules down in the bottom, and that'll guide you in how I'm grading you. There's some samples and talking about the importance of a thesis. So be sure to scroll down after you finish watching this video for that information. For now, let's take a look at this PowerPoint lecture on intro paragraphs. All right, everybody. So introductory paragraphs. An essay has 3 types of paragraphs and they have different structures. And so I'm going to require different things in different essay paragraphs. So there's something called introductory paragraphs, which are first, body paragraphs, which are in the middle. There can be 1, 2, 3, 80 body paragraphs in an essay, and concluding paragraphs, which are last in an essay. Okay, and you will always need those 3 types of paragraphs. Now, essay 1 is a 4-paragraph essay. That means 1 intro, 2 bodies, and 1 concluding paragraph. Now, your introductory paragraph needs to be 6 sentences long. So I need you to count those sentences. If you want full credit, you need to have 6 sentences. So an introduction generally contains 2 parts, a hook, which is 5 to 11 sentences long, and a thesis, which is 1 to 2 sentences long. And you can see those requirements right here. Now those can be in any order. You can have the thesis first, then the hook. You can have the hook, thesis, and more hook. However you want to do it, whatever sounds right to you. In our worksheet, I have the hook first, but of course you can switch those if you like. All right, so the grading method, if you already have a method that works for you, just use that, okay? But just make sure it contains the following parts. To earn full credit, your intro paragraph must be 6 to 12 sentences long, contain a developed unified hook. This may be a hook and a broad restatement or study or summary, excuse me, and it must be related to your thesis. And that intro paragraph must contain a thesis. Okay, so if you're unclear of any of those, you want to continue watching the video. If you already have a method that works, be sure it follows these requirements. All right, let's talk about a hook. Now, the function of a hook is to get your reader interested in the essay. It's related to your thesis, and it must contain the same basic ideas as your thesis. The following is a list of possible strategies you can use in your hook. Please choose one from the list for your essay. Do not choose more than one, okay? So some people like to throw a bunch of different types together, but what that gets you is underdeveloped ideas, and that will cost you points on your final draft. So just choose one. Here are your possible strategies. Actually, let me do this PowerPoint style. Here are your possible strategies. Open with a brief, vivid description. Open with a personal story, and note if you do that, you will be using the personal pronoun I. That's okay for me. That will not cost you any points, but it's a personal choice up to each student. Open with a background story. That's something related, something that happened to someone involved in the thesis, okay? Be sure to put quotes around any words you borrow. Be sure to cite your source. even if you paraphrase. So this is a dangerous one if you're unfamiliar with the rules of plagiarism. A lot of students get caught up here. They forget to put quotes around stuff they borrow, or they forget to attribute a story they tell, right? So this could be something that happened to someone you know, or something that happened to someone you read about in your research. More strategies. You can open with examples. You can open with a definition. Be sure to put quotes around any words you borrow. Be sure to cite your source. Be sure to explain why the definition is important. Or open with a surprising fact or statistic. Be sure to put quotes around any words you borrow. Be sure to cite your source, and be sure to explain why the fact or stat is important, right? These two are interesting because conceivably they could just be one sentence long. But for me, I require a minimum 5 sentences. So when you give that quote, be sure to explain why it's important in an additional 4 sentences. Or if you start with a surprising fact or stat, be sure to explain why it's important in 4 additional sentences for a total of 5. You can also make a historical comparison. Use quotes, cite your source, explain why it's important. Use a vivid quote, put quotes around any words you borrow, cite your source, and here, be sure to introduce that quote. Your sentence should never start with quotation marks, okay? And there's a lecture on that coming up in this module. Or open with a refutation. Summarize the other side and tell why they're wrong. Okay, so that gives us an intro paragraph with 6 sentences minimum, a hook that's a 5 sentences minimum, and a thesis that's 1 to 2 sentences long. All right, if we click back to our page, down here, you can see samples of those hooks. So types of hooks, you're going to choose one only. Let's say you like this one. You can see it starts with a quote, but there's introductory material. The sentence doesn't begin with the quote itself. The quote is in the middle of the sentence. Notice that there's more than just the one sentence. It also explains it. Okay. There's another one for startling fact or stat. Anecdote, using that personal pronoun I, which is fine. Using a background story. Using historical comparison. Okay. All right, everybody. Let me know if you have any trouble. If you want more information on intro paragraphs, here are a couple of really, really great videos that sort of sum that up for you. Bye.